What's up guys, Uncasual Gamer here, and today we are talking about this epic controller. But first, let's roll back the clock 20 or so years and find out why this is relevant today. So back in 2001, Microsoft entered the console world with the OG Xbox, and this was to rival Sony's PlayStation 2 and Nintendo's GameCube. So just like any games console, the Xbox launched with a controller. However, this was the controller. Now the first thing you might be thinking is, what the heck is that? If you've not seen one of these, if you were around 20 years ago, you'll have seen this already. Now, when you compare this to the PS2, one thing massively stands out, and that is obviously it's a size. It's a huge controller. I'm 6'2", and this thing, I've got big hands, and this thing is absolutely ginormous in the hand. So although the original Xbox was doing really well, it had a great lineup of games, in particular the first Halo game, and it was selling well, it was more powerful than its PS2 and GameCube counterparts, the controller became a real bugbear for fans. IGN ranked this as the second worst controller ever, and it's even in the Guinness World Records for the biggest video game controller ever too. Now after a couple of years, in 2003, Microsoft did upgrade the Xbox controller following all the pressure they got and all the hate they got for the Duke. So they brought out the Xbox Controller S, or the Xbox S controller, which is, to be honest, was way ahead of its time, one of the greatest controllers ever made, in my opinion. And this paved the way for your more recent Xbox One, Xbox Series X controllers. This thing, for example, had triggers, which the PlayStation didn't get until its PS3 era, a whole generation or 6 years later down the line. So yeah, really good controller, and this stepped up the game massively. However, in more recent years, the Duke controller has become iconic, really nostalgic with those Xbox fans, Xbox collectors who were around back in the day. And that led to the original Duke designer getting back in touch with Xbox, asking if he could re-release the Duke for the modern day consoles like the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X. So he teamed up with a company called Hyperkin, who are based in California and make kind of video game accessories, etc. And they made together the Duke controller for modern day consoles, so your Xbox One and your Xbox Series S and X. So they originally just launched a black edition, and then I think it was a white edition, and then they released a 20th anniversary Cortana Halo edition, which is the one I've got here. As you'll be aware, which you probably can see from behind me, I'm a massive Halo fan. Halo is one of my favourite, if not my favourite video game franchise. So I've been looking for one of these for a while, and I actually found this one on Vinted recently. So I think these were about £90 to £110 depending on where you're based, brand new. And on eBay they go for about the same. I think in CX they are £80, so again quite a similar price. I found this one on Vinted for £60, and it was a few weeks ago when they had free delivery on all items. So it was £60 with free delivery. Now I was a bit apprehensive because when I bought things on Vinted in the past, they have not been as described, especially controllers. I had a nightmare with this Forza Horizon controller over here, and it was described as mint, only used once. So I thought the box looks pretty good, it's in good shape, I will pick that up. So I paid £60 for it, arrived 2 days later, and yeah, this thing's in pristine condition. But let's get over on the counter and let's take a look at this controller. Okay, so here is the controller. As I mentioned, this is in really, really pristine condition. As you can see, the box is pretty much as new, I would say. And then when we lift off the lid, nothing changes. We have got the original leaflets that came with the controller, including the Hyperkin sticker. And we've then got this foam, piece of foam, basically a foam panel. And then here is the controller. Now, one thing to mention, this is a wired controller. I've taken the wire out, it's just next to my Xbox down on the floor at the moment. So when we take the controller out, what you'll see is this is, first of all, very, very similar to the original Duke. If I go and pick one up. So here is the original Duke, and alongside the new one, these are pretty much identical in terms of the size and the shape. There's just a couple of new functionality additions, and that is the addition of the share button on the new Xbox controllers. So that's on there, so you can easily take screenshots or screen recordings. And then the other addition is RB and LB, so it's now got the shoulder buttons, which the original Duke did not have. Everything else in terms of triggers, in terms of the rest of the buttons on the front, including the D-pad and the joysticks, is identical. Now this controller is it's like a matte finish. You probably can't see that on camera. It's obviously in this gorgeous magenta colour, and it's got Cortana, who is the AI from Halo, if you've not played the Halo games, kind of like painted on the side here, which looks really, really nice. Now up top we have got USB-C, which is where the wire goes in, which enables you obviously to play with the controller on your Xbox One or Xbox Series X. And when you plug it in, that is when the best part, the highlight of this controller, shall we say, comes into effect. So we'll show you that in just a second. Only other thing to know, again, which I forgot to mention a second ago, is that it's got a aux cable or a headphone jack, shall we say, on the bottom. So you can plug your headset into this. And on top, unlike the original, it's taken away the memory card slot because obviously newer consoles have hard drives in and we do not use memory cards anymore, at least for the most part. In the bottom of the box is also a stand so you can display the controller if you like. I will get this one out because it's not being used, it is brand new. As I mentioned, this is in really good condition and there's not a mark on it. So let's get this plugged in and let's show you the real highlight of the controller, which makes it stand out amongst others. Okay, so I've had to move the camera slightly just so it reaches my controller. So when you turn the controller on, as you'll see, we've now got an Xbox logo. So if I unplug the controller again, as you'll see here, this is... Now people online have said this is an OLED screen. Whether it is OLED or not, I'm not sure. It's quite a small screen, but it is super high definition. It's really, really clear. So it could be an OLED screen, but I'm not 100% sure. So when we plug in the controller, we get this. So there's no sound with this, but it plays a kind of like a little montage of clips from Halo, and then it says celebrating 20 years and the Xbox logo appears. The Xbox logo then stays on screen, and this then stays on screen until you press the button again. So at this point you would use the controller as normal with the TV, and then anytime you press the button you get the little Halo trailer once again. And you can do this as many times as you want. Obviously if you leave this USB just plugged in on the side of your shelf, for example on display, it will display the Halo logo, which is really, really nice. And then, you know, if you're showing someone around your game room or whatever, you can just hit the button and play it again. As you'll see, I don't know if you can see the sun as well, but this magenta colour lets the sun come through really nicely. So if it's a sunny day where you've got light coming through the window, the controller really stands out on the shelf. But main thing, let's plug this in and actually see how it plays and how it fares on an Xbox Series X. Okay, so we've got this thing plugged into the Series X now, and we're jumping into a bit of Halo. So I've got Master Chief Collection lined up. Let's see how this thing compares. I mean, what I'm seeing first of all is that obviously the A, B, X and Y buttons are very differently placed compared to a normal Xbox controller. The trigger is kind of in a similar area, obviously with your index finger, but yeah, I think these four buttons are going to take the most getting used to, but let's see how we get on. I must be the only person on Xbox Live right now using this controller to play Halo with. And as you can see, again, it's the A, the B, the X, Y buttons they are quite difficult. The joysticks weirdly feel not too bad. We got one kill there at least, I think, did we? And then, yeah, what's also weird is the back button and the start button are slightly off. Yeah, okay, so I've just spent the last hour or so playing with this controller on Halo. What I would say is, look, if you're buying this controller, you're not going to be playing your Xbox Series X with it, let's be honest. Yeah, it's hard to use. Like I say, I'm 6'1" and I've got big hands. And I still find this just too big in terms of, you know, I can't actually reach the Y button on this with my right hand, whereas if I grab my Series X usual controller, I can obviously reach all the buttons on there. It's obviously a massive size difference in the two controllers. What I also didn't mention earlier is on the back, we've also got the nice 20th anniversary logo on there, which is really nice. And yeah, the screen for me is, I think that sets this apart as a collector's item. I think this is probably the best looking controller I have in my collection. I've got some really nice controllers up behind me, including the Forza Horizon one. Even this Go, I think it's the Go Cypher one that I use as my daily controller. It's really nice, but by far this is the best controller in my collection. I think it's unique, it's different, and obviously if you like Halo, then it brings that nostalgia for you and a throwback to the original Xbox if you're an Xbox fan. So it's probably the top 5 items in my whole collection at the moment, I would say. Now, going back to the title of the video, do you need this in your collection, or why you need this in your collection? If you've got any interest in Halo, any interest in Xbox, if that's what you collect for, then I think this is an absolute must-have in your collection. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's obviously usable. It's something that you can plug in and play if you want to. It stands out, and it's surely going to be a gem in your collection when you're showing other people your collection. So yeah, I would 100% recommend it. There's nothing else like it on the market, and these are not going to get made again, I don't think. So if you can pick one up at a decent price, then I would recommend you doing so. As always, thanks for watching and keep gaming.